We'll start with one of those teams alive with premiership hope, Lordo. It's the Fremantle Dockers. 6 wins in a row now and a very, very good last quarter against St Kilda last night at Optus Stadium. They were led yet again, as they have been now throughout the course of this year, by Luke Jackson, who I feel is the dominant big man in the game right now.
Last quarter highlights we're going to show, and it was Darcy and Jackson inspired in the last quarter, and you've been big on it, that you like how it works. I've been one to said, no, I just like Luke Jackson alone because he's better without Darcy in the team, but it worked really well. They lost the clearances, so that's one thing I will say. They were smashed at the clearance.
Not in the last quarter.
Not in the last quarter, but Sarong had a quiet game, so it was one of his probably worst games of the year, which affected that as well. Full credit to St Kilda, who threw extra numbers around the ball, but it was an inspired last quarter by the big men.
It was. They got to 14 points down early in the last quarter. There was a statement, I think, of sorts being made there where Jackson passed to Darcy, who kicked the goal. There was another passage of play, Lotto, where they were both in the centre square for one of those clearances. Yeah. Jackson was ruck roving. His last quarter was as good as we've seen in a game-changing context. Yeah,
that's where it works. I remember Shifter Sheen speaking about Luke Jackson when he was first drafted, saying this guy could be a great ruck rover. And that's maybe what happens towards the end of the year. And it has happened a fair bit throughout this year as well, that they're fortunate that he can be a ruckman or a ruck rover or a forward.
Yeah, just on the combo itself, Lotto, I'm really glad that Darcy's now got a body that is allowing to play at least a bit of footy. He was good against North Melbourne. They both were against Cherry in round 14, and it took both of them yesterday to bring down Rowan Marshall again. And I'm going to make Luke Jackson the subject today of our Crypto.com bold call for access. And I feel his past 6 weeks, Lotto, has him in the All-Australian lock position right now. I know Max Gawn has been considered the front runner. I would argue that the past 6 weeks of a winning streak for the Dockers, with Jackson leading the way, he's now in front.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. I think Max Gawn was way in front early, and the last 6 weeks, you can look at all the numbers you like, but for impact and what he does with his mobility around the ground, I'd have Jackson in front as well.
And for the sake of this conversation, we've taken Tom de Koning off the options here because he's had a poor fortnight, and they're the other names. Tristan Cherry has not done much wrong at all. The green highlighting numbers there are the category leaders or second in each of those categories. But Darcy Cameron too has had a great year, Lordo, but Jackson is starting to shape this football club and shape this season the way he's playing in my eyes.
Yeah, you can see Max Gawn, he features in 4 of the 6 categories that we're showing there. But Luke Jackson, with the eye, he does more damage. So when you mentioned de Koning, he should look at Jackson and say, that's what I want to be. With the impact that he has and the mobility both players have, Jackson's just been a wonderful player for Fremantle.
The 2 goals he kicked in that last quarter yesterday, the 4 contested possessions, the 3 marks, but it was the presence and the about a goal a game record that he's got to this point. That's one bold call. You've got another one right now.
Well, Alex Teru is one of the more exciting second games you'll see for his courage, like the commitment that he had to just compete. He may start trying to mark some of these, but that's the only thing you'd pick out, in terms of that sense. But
that'll come, won't it?
That'll come within the matter of weeks. But the commitment, the courage, the aggressive nature,
the timing,
like I'm talking, it reminded me of a young Glenn Archer, for example. The impact that Glenn Archer had when I played against Glenn, or when Glenn was around, you wanted to know where he was, and he just had a fearless nature. Well, this guy, Alex Teru, there hasn't been a lot of excitement to come out of St Kilda. I'm not sure what would excite you there, but this kid, I heard a lot about him, but he meets all the hype for what he did yesterday.
It's a big rap
over in Perth. It was outstanding what he did. I'm talking, he just gave absolutely everything. And turn it over occasionally, as young kids will do, but he's everything and more that you'd hope from a top 10 pickup.
From a Dockers perspective, have you got concerns now about Nat Fyfe? He was named a sub yesterday and was not used, and Justin Longmuir, the coach, post-match explained the reasoning behind that, being that he felt calf soreness as he was doing some run-throughs at half-time. Now, previous week, 2 weeks ago, he was the sub, came on. Then last match, he started, and then was subbed out. This is what's happened in the third week.
Yeah, he's pretty much their 22nd to 25th best player. That's where Nat Fyfe sits. And then you've got Hayden Young. Hopefully they'll get back soon. So, yeah, he's in a fight now to play again for the Fremantle Dockers, I would say, and whether he's in their best side in a month's time when he's back.
And the name you mentioned there, Hayden Young, is a massive wild card element to the Dockers as they head towards September.